So this episode might be a little awkward to listen to with your parents or your kids, if you're getting my drift. Living in an apartment can yield a unique set of problems, as this guy confession will remind us. Never fear, solving awkward problems is a love language of mine. I'm Laurie March, project manager and problem solver, and this is True Home Confessions. Let's listen.
Hey, my name's Will, and I've got a confession. I mean, more like a problem. My neighbor, this old lady in the next apartment, she jumped me in the parking garage, super pissed, because she can hear me and my girl when we're having sex. And, I mean, I feel kind of bad, because, I'm sure she does. We've kind of been going at it a lot lately, and, well, my girl, she can be loud. I mean, we're not screaming the house down or anything. The apartment is just super shitty with, really thin walls. I mean, I can hear my neighbor when she's yelling at her husband or when they're just, watching TV. And, I don't know, the bed's been creaking too, so I tried some DIY shit, put some pads under the legs. I mean, I kind of padded the back up. But, obviously, it didn't help because my neighbor waited for me in the garage again to yell at me. And I don't know what else to do because I don't want to, tell my girl to be quieter because they'll just make her feel self-conscious, I mean, we're having fun. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun, and this old lady's just kind of killing the vibe. I don't know. You got any other ideas? Thanks.
As you just heard, every episode we field an anonymous confession about the crazy things going on in your homes. From real estate regrets to neighbor drama and fights with your spouse. Next up, I bring on a guest, a friend of the show, so we can test out the value of friendly advice. Afterward, I'm bringing you an expert who's going to solve our caller's sticky situation. And then they'll let us know if our friends are really qualified to solve our toughest problems at home. Today's friend of the show is an overeducated, funny blonde with amazing shoes, Laura Hayden.
Yay, me.
Your shoes really are amazing.
Well, I didn't want to show up with shabby shoes on, your fancy show. So
my goodness. I just wore my normal combat boots.
Yeah, those are probably more practical.
Okay, so what a confession.
I think that's a problem for actually a lot of people. So good on him for confessing it.
Yeah, right.
I don't think he's alone in the world. I'm pretty sure there's problems. I was waiting for him to say it was the other way around, that his elderly neighbors were having sex and he had to listen to it.
Oh, my goodness. You kind of have to be proud of them, though, if they're still going after it and they're elderly.
The elderly are very, very crazy. I don't know if you know this, but there's a problem in the nursing homes. True story.
Really?
Yeah. It's so much so that the American government came out with a pamphlet called Safe Sex for Seniors. You can go to government.org and get their own copy because they have time on their hands, internet porn, and Viagra. It's like high school all over again in the nursing homes. I'm not even joking. This is true. You can look it up. It's true. Oh. But now they have bad backs, bad hips, and bad knees, and they're hurting themselves so much that the American government had to come out with a pamphlet so you would stop hurting yourself while going at it in the nursing home. I'm not joking. That is a true story. And there is a position that is really safe. And I actually give this out as medical advice.
No, now we have to hear it.
It's doggy style.
That's the safe one?
That's safe, grandma leaning over the dresser because neither one of them want to look at each other anymore.
Oh my God.
I feel like I'm not helping this guy at all, but
I really knew that you were actually going to be the right person for this. I had a feeling when I got this spicy little confession, I had a feeling you were going to be my person because I have seen you do some pretty funny stand-up and I just figured you could handle this.
Actually, that is actually a true story. That is the safest position to not. So somebody's out there with I got a dodgy knee. Now you know what to do. I think this guy, he's going at it all wrong. He needs to grab the hearing aids off the lady. He needs to break in their apartment and steal their hearing aids. And except the only problem is the TV will go up. But if he steals the hearing aids, and then they won't hear them. So, or he could just get them to move. That's another choice. I don't know.
Get louder.
Get louder or get them to move. Or how old are they? Maybe they're close to moving to retirement living or something.
Yeah.
I've had horrible neighbors before. I get it. I had a downstairs neighbor that I was pretty sure was going to kill me through the roof.
That sounds scary.
No, it was very scary. But you know what he needs to go? They need a pool boy. That's what they need. So she has a distraction. So maybe you get him a Sancho. You get her a Sancho. That's what.
Yeah. Like somebody hot that she's drooling over.
When the husband's away.
Yeah.
I was thinking that she was complaining about hearing them because now her husband has ideas. He's like, I got the Viagra. I have the pamphlet. I know it's safe. I'm not going to hurt myself. And now she's like, I thought I was out. Now I have to put out because your girlfriend is a screamer.
Yeah. Like maybe they are giving somebody some ideas.
Yeah, so the husband's like, well, you know what they're doing next door. Maybe we should. And now he's angry. She's like, oh, this is the third time this week. Fred's wanted it.
Yeah, and she's stressed.
She doesn't want that brought up at all.
You know what I did like about the confession? I really liked that toward the end, I think he said his name was Will, that he mentioned that he didn't want to make his girlfriend feel self-conscious.
That is nice.
I love that.
I would be self-conscious because if I was the girl, I would know that the walls are thin. But maybe that's her thing. Maybe she gets louder.
Maybe she's just having fun and she didn't notice.
Maybe. True. I always like the neighbors should be happy that they're having sex and not dealing drugs.
Sure.
That's what I think. Drug deals happen all night long. Sex eventually ends.
Sure. True.
How long could it be going anyhow?
Right. Sure. He didn't say he was like a marathon guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, somewhere in there, you got to be like, good for you.
Maybe if they're doing it really late at night, maybe that's a problem. Or maybe you start doing it late at night and wake them up.
Yeah, like a curfew, like a time frame.
Get her a cat. I don't know.
What is the cat going to do, Laura?
I don't know. She has to go look for it. It seems like there has to be I think distraction is the solution.
Distraction. I like it. Okay, so in advance of being amorous, we're going to distract.
Yes.
So what is our first plan?
What do you do, Will? What do you do? Can you get them tickets to something out of the house? Just like get them out of the house.
Maybe we need to send them comedy tickets.
Maybe comedy tickets. It doesn't sound like she would have a good time though.
Because she has no sense of humor?
She has no, well, if she's, I'm always like, why should you shun people having a good time? Like it's a natural thing. It's a good thing. Good for you, Will, and your girlfriend. Maybe invite them over.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
How old are they? They might have done key parties when they were younger. We don't know.
You never know.
That would be gross, but
I like how he mentioned too that he had tried to come up with some solutions. He put some like felt pads under the bed and like a pillow or something.
Yeah, he was putting padding, soundproofing the walls.
What did he say? The bed has been creaking too, so I tried some DIY shit, put some pads under the legs and padded up the back. I mean, that's thoughtful.
It is thoughtful. Good for you, Will.
It's probably better for the floor too, the little,
How
pads.
wild is she? That's what we need to know. See, I'm a comic. I have too many bad ideas going in my head. I'm like...
Specifically, he said... She can be loud, but we're not screaming the house down or anything. The apartment is just a shithole with really thin walls.
I'm sure that the elderly couple has dealt with it. What have we talked to the husband? Maybe the husband is the solution.
Nope.
Maybe the husband is like, yeah, my wife is just bitter.
Yeah, you're right. I couldn't remember if there actually was a husband, but she did.
I thought he said he mentioned a
she's
husband.
yelling at her husband or they're watching TV. Yeah. So you're right. There is a husband.
Maybe the husband's the solution.
Okay.
Tell him he needs to step up his game.
Maybe he needs to hide her hearing aids.
Yes, there we go. He might be enjoying the sound effects.
Yeah, he could be. Maybe we need to talk the husband into getting on board, like drop off a bottle of whiskey or gin or something.
There we go.
And get him on your team.
Yeah.
And then
I'm a big believer in licking up the neighbors.
Yeah. I feel like people do that a lot when they have a new baby, the apology,
the apology,
or whatever.
The apology, we're having noisy sex. Like, you shouldn't have to do that, but that's...
Yeah. Although, it's sort of celebratory. You're like, we're making out too much.
Yeah.
Here's some alcohol.
Exactly.
I wonder if they could
make
just
more
switch...
money. Move.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what's that going to do? Better felt pads?
I'm like, make more money, Will, so you can move into a better place.
I guess they could possibly just switch rooms too. Like maybe he's just in the room with the windows.
Maybe switching rooms. Yeah, you could trade it up. How old are the neighbors? Maybe they'll be leaving.
Maybe.
Then you'll get worse neighbors. I think it's so funny that she's confronting him in the garage, confronting me in the garage.
Yeah. He says she jumped him in the parking garage. Super
I thought
pissed.
at first that she jumped him like she's like, I can hear what you can do. I'm going to get on board. She's looking for some action herself.
Nope. Super pissed. And she waited for him in the garage again to yell at him. So this is now, maybe this is like this is fun for her. Like
maybe.
She's having fun.
Maybe, do it more. See what happens. I don't know. I think they should make it a game.
Oh, that's fun. What is the process of this game?
How many times can I annoy the neighbors this week?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't like that? We're going to step up our game.
Yeah.
I'm going to see how many times I can annoy. At some point, if your neighbor's annoyed by something, something like this, then do something really annoying so that then this doesn't make a bigger problem. That's what it is. A bigger problem.
Oh, this is good advice.
It's distraction with a bigger problem.
Well, okay, so let's brainstorm what a bigger problem could be. Like, do we need a drum set?
Drums are good. Learning to play the drums is a solid. Learning to play any instrument is good.
Something awkward like a woodwind would be great, though.
No, something even more obnoxiously. Rap music, really, really loud. Gangster rap. I'm sure she'll like that. Start inviting your sleaziest friends over late at night.
Or like you could become a tap dancer.
Tap dancing's good. That's good.
Get those like really loud shoes and just kind of go after it.
Cook fish every night and leave the windows open.
I lived in an apartment here when I first moved into Hollywood, and I remember the food smells were real. Like people, and you can't say anything. It's like what people are making for dinner, but the smells as they creep out the walls are different.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Like only something like it's usually only garlic has made it through the walls.
Yeah, and garlic through the walls is not a fun garlic smell.
No.
I'm thinking crab every night, or fish every night, a fish fry every night.
Yeah.
And tap dancing and a drum set.
Yeah.
She won't notice that you're having sex.
Yeah. I like it. This feels like a solid set of advice.
Yeah, I think so. I think create a bigger problem. If the small problem is a problem, make a bigger problem. Then they're just having sex. That's so sweet. He stopped with the drums. And she'll be happy. She'll feel like she won. Make her feel like she won by doing something bigger and then stopping for her.
Yeah, I like it. That's a little bit evil.
It's a solution. People feel like they won still, even though it was the same issue.
Yeah, I like it. You
used
made
to do that
it
in my
worse
marriage.
before it got better. Yeah, you do sound like this is a tactic you've used on a neighbor somewhere before.
Maybe.
Yeah. You're not telling.
Yeah. Well, probably my husband, ex-husband.
Was it the tap shoes?
No, just they have an opinion. Tell them your idea, and then let them seep in to think it's their opinion, and then they spew it as their opinion later. You just fed it into them. Kind of like a politician. You just feed it into them, and then they think it's their idea.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's a great idea, honey. You told them that 6 months ago, but that's okay.
I like it. Maybe that could be used on the neighbor, and like we're feeding into her a different story about this.
Tell her that your girlfriend only has 6 months to live, and that you should have as much joy as possible.
Oh, shit. That's dark.
Then she'll feel bad. You go, girl, for your last 6 months. You go.
Now you've really hit on something. Like you have taken it from
I'm just making more bad advice as we go.
To celebrating. Like the neighbor is going to celebrate you.
She's only going to live for 6 months. She's going to have to go into chemotherapy soon. Let her have her joy.
Oh my God. I feel like you have to get out of the way for the lightning bolt with that one.
No one's judging.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. What do you think if you had Will in front of you right now? Like, what would you say would be your go-to advice for Will?
Well, having had sex with a roommate, not having sex with a roommate, trying to have sex with a roommate in walls that are really thin, I'm too embarrassed to be your girlfriend. So God bless her for not caring. So I admire her.
Yep.
I say if you love the girlfriend and things are going well, enjoy all of that and just smile at your neighbor and say, I'm really sorry. Would you like a muffin? I don't know. Bring her baked goods. Try to make friends with the neighbor somehow. That would be my thought. Just go look at, you were young once, I'm sure. Ask the neighbor what she would like you to do. except for not have sex? Like, what would if you were me, what would you do?
Oh, that is great.
Yeah. What
That's
is
sharp.
it? What is it that you would like me to do besides not have sex? Like, how can we make this better for you? Do you want earplugs? Do you want can I buy you some, headphones?
Yeah.
Would you like, a Bose system? What can we do to make your life better?
Yeah. That's great. Like some noise canceling.
Yeah. Now you can watch TV and not hear your husband and not hear us.
You're improving life.
Exactly.
I love
A
it.
set of Bose headsets might solve the problem, and some whiskey.
Yeah. I mean, I feel pretty confident that we have solved Will's problem,
Absolutely.
right? Okay. So this was one of our more spicy confessions.
Yes.
Thank you for tackling it with me.
No problem.
I do feel like we covered some ground. By the way, if any of you have a confession, you can email it to us, truehomeconfessions@gmail.com, or you can actually call in and leave your confession as well. The number is 323-716-2107. That is the confession line. So if you've got something going on in your brain, you too can benefit from all of this joy. And
It's cathartic. You should do it.
and amazing advice, just like us. I personally cannot wait to find out if our friendly advice is approved or denied by our expert, which is the royal soundproofing expert, the king of quiet, Martin. He's going to come up next, and I think he's going to have his ears full after this.
He's going to be like, that's the worst advice ever.
Maybe, but you're going to have to tune in and find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait. He's like, really stealing our your hearing aids, Laura? Really?
I thought that was solid.
I thought that was solid too. But I personally what would you like me to do?
Yeah, that's a good one. I believe in you.
Yeah.
All right. I think people feel a little bit shy when they're talking with an expert on this subject. But Laura Hayden was here for the spice level. She brought her A game to this equation. There is friendly advice, and then there is telling people to steal their neighbors' hearing aids. Martin, with 22 million views on Soundproof Guide's YouTube channel, and 94,000 people who subscribe and beg you to solve their soundproofing problems. The question I really just want to know is, how many people have asked you about this before?
Not that many, to be honest. They might be just too shy to write that in the comment section, or maybe YouTube would flag one of those comments. But usually I go into the flag section just to see if there's anything juicy, but I don't see that too much. But I will make a video about it because I'm sure it's popular.
This is a real thing. I think all of us have lived in an apartment at some point in our life, and there has absolutely been a moment where somebody slammed that window and said, "Shut up," for all of us, right? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. With that, or even with a dog barking or with kids running around, apartments is notorious for that.
I did a little bit of digging, and 35% of Americans live in apartments. And obviously, our guy Will is upset that this part of his life is carrying past his walls. He's having to deal with a neighbor who has complained several times to him about getting an earful of his highlight reel.
To stop that type of noise, you had to add stuff on the wall, right? And an apartment is hard, especially with that many people living in an apartment. They don't make them very soundproof.
No, they don't. Here at the show, one of the main things that we do is try to determine if friendly advice is good advice. Friend of the show, Laura Hayden, had a field day with this. The ideas, there were a lot of them. Laura says, Will needs to hide his neighbor's hearing aids and get the husband on board. She is a firm believer in liquoring up the neighbors.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go to those extremes, of course. I mean, it could be borderline illegal or immoral, maybe to some people, but it is a funny idea.
Laura also said, if Will and his girlfriend making out is a problem, they should make a bigger problem. And some of the ideas that were thrown out were getting a drum set, becoming a tap dancer, or taking up a new instrument so that when the neighbor complained, you could quit the louder thing and then just keep making out and have her not complain about that anymore.
Yeah, that would just create a lot of animosity between neighbors. And that wouldn't be that good.
Martin Poirier, king of quiet, your royal quietness. Did Laura Hayden get it right, or do we have some other ideas?
We have some other ideas.
Not taking this advice.
No.
Okay, as of 2023, 35% of Americans live in apartments, but close quarters can be a thing for all sorts of people and living situations, including duplexes, townhouses, and just homes where people possibly live with their parents or their kids, right? So this is potentially a problem for way more people than 35% of people who are living in apartments.
Definitely, because even people living in a detached home where they can make alterations, it can be very expensive to soundproof.
And during the pandemic, I feel like everybody had to stay home. So some of these things really kind of came to a head during the pandemic. I feel like the complaints about noise and neighbors online exploded in the last few years.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And even people working from home, I got a lot more people asking me, how do I soundproof my home office? Just because people are working from home and they have meetings and they don't want everything to be heard, or vice versa.
How long have you been at it? It's been a lot of years now, isn't it?
Yeah, since 2018 that I started the channel, and I started a website a couple of years prior to that.
I have scoured both. First of all, I scoured both looking for good advice for Will, but then I kind of fell into figuring out everything that you talk about. And Martin, if I may, it seems like you have tested out so many things about soundproofing and stopping noise.
So I try to go out and just buy the different types of material, and it's not that complicated to just try out. I have a room right there that I can just switch stuff out on the wall and have a decibel meter and actually see what works better and what doesn't work. And also the difference in cost between the two materials, because some materials cost a lot more money and it's not that worth it. So it's good for people to know that.
Martin, do you ever just go into that quiet room and just yell real loud?
No, but it's funny because I do have I did do a video about 2 years ago about how to soundproof your own screams. And it's like this, it looks like some type of I have it like right there somewhere. I should have had it right here, and you scream in it.
What? There's literally a thing that you scream into. If you need to scream, there's a device that you can scream into.
Yeah, I have a video about that. Screaming into a pillow is better.
I feel like that was probably advice that we should have started with for Will.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't want to be rude to her. He doesn't want to hurt her feelings. But I mean, he could always suggest role play.
Oh, hey.
Right?
Sure. Like a quiet room role play or...
Right.
Yeah. Mouse. Or quiet as a mouse. Yeah.
Exactly, right? There's many ways of doing it.
I feel like I come back to this question, though. Are we responsible for the level of noise that's coming out of our apartment?
It depends on where you live legally, but morally, I would say yes. You're making a choice to live amongst other people. You know, you live in a civilized society. You should act in a civilized way. So, I mean, yes, you are paying rent, and you should be able to make a certain amount of noise, but being inconsiderate is not really nice, I guess, if you want to get along with your neighbors. We call it soundproofing, but you can't really eliminate 100% of the noise. But if you can eliminate 25%, 50%, just enough that the noise isn't annoying, then it might be enough to mitigate the situation and for you to be more free.
Oh, I love that. A little bit of sound mitigation makes you a more free human.
Exactly. And there are ways to mitigate what he's going through, even in an apartment. There are things that he can do that would mitigate that also.
We're going to get into that in 1 second. I want to just quickly check in on what you do, because I think this is part of why this is so fascinating to me. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do every day and also your background and how you got into this?
What I do every day is I work for an electrical company. I do testing on protective equipment. So I do testing every day on equipment that basically keeps people safe. You know, it keeps people from getting electrocuted. So I do visual and electrical testing on all of from wearing rubber gloves to their trucks. That's what I do for a work job. But I did get into soundproofing. And so I thought I'm going to look into that and there wasn't a lot of information on it. And a lot of the information were just really bad information that I knew from my past experience. It just wouldn't work. So I figured, well, maybe I could fill that void. And there's no soundproofing university or college course that you can take. And there's not really any soundproofing companies in most cities. So most people would ask, well, where do you have your education or your experience? Well, my experience and education is from doing a lot of homework on it and doing a lot of tests and trials to make sure that the equipment and the materials for soundproofing work.
It's like all of the stuff from your day job, how serious you have to take that job. I know that has to be dead serious because you're making sure that safety stuff works in a very important category. Hey, I want to understand the moment that you were in your house. Were you being too loud? Like, what was happening in your place the minute that you decided to launch into your soundproofing career? What were you mitigating?
It was mostly between me and my kids. Back at the time, now I have a 12-year-old and two 10-year-olds. And back then it was about 8 years ago and they were younger. The house was smaller and the walls were thin. So it was kind of, I didn't want to make too much noise watching whatever I wanted to watch or do what I wanted to do. And also being in that room, I could hear them screaming. And so it was kind of a in-between thing between me and my kid.
Yeah. So it started out in your own house and you were annoyed by them and they were annoyed by you. And that's how it all began.
Exactly. It was neighbors, but family.
Neighbors that you created.
Exactly.
You mentioned decibels. I just want to follow up on that. How do we actually measure sound? Because what's loud to me, I have great hearing. So sometimes people annoy me and my husband can't even hear it. And I'm like, do you not hear that stupid music? It won't stop. And he honestly is not necessarily hearing it. So how do you measure sound? And is there a measurement of like, what is just too loud from the neighbors?
Well, there is also a perception of sound. So if we go into decibels, that is the measurement of sound. And how we hear it for as humans can be a little bit different, but in general, it's pretty well all the same. So if you go and you decrease the noise by 10 decibels, and people might say, well, that noise is 80 decibels. If you drown that out to 70, will that be enough? Well, actually it is, because the perception of our human ears, it's basically cutting the noise in half. So if every 10 decibels you decrease, it essentially cuts the noise in half. If you cut the decibels by 3, it cuts the energy in half.
Okay.
But the perception of our ear is different. So when I look at it, if I'm soundproofing a wall, I am thinking, okay, I need to get rid of at least 10 decibels. And every piece of material, every techniques of soundproofing, whether small or large, will decrease the amount of decibels. So if one part might just decrease 2 decibels, people might think that's not enough. But in conjunction with other material, more soundproofing, all those little bits help.
Yeah.
Because 10 decibels is not that much, but it is a lot.
It's so interesting. It's kind of making me think of like earthquakes. Like the earthquake scale is exponential, right? As it goes up, it gets way bigger. And it sounds like with sound, as you're going up and down, it's similar. So
exactly. And you have different frequencies in sound, right? And that's also a perception for, well, it's not really a perception, but you'll feel it. If the frequency is very low, like bass, you'll feel it in vibrations. If the frequency is higher, like people talking or somebody screaming, you won't really feel the noise, but it is a higher decibel and you'll hear it differently. So those noise are actually a lot easier to soundproof than the low frequency noise. So it's not just about decibels. When soundproofing, you have to know what type of frequency that you're actually working with, because a lot of soundproofing projects will not work. And people will be left unhappy spending thousands of dollars because they soundproof for the wrong frequency.
This is a really great segue, Martin, because I think it's time to truly get into what Will is putting out in the world. And so you mentioned here the frequency, we've got bass, and we've got, I believe you said yelling.
Yeah, so that would be a higher frequency noise, what they're creating.
Right. So I'm going to make a couple of assumptions here. Ready? Let's do this together. I'm assuming we're talking about a bedroom. And because we have sort of laws about being able to get in and out of bedrooms, I'm going to assume the bedroom has at least one window in it, right? For egress, we need to be able to get in and out. So if we get really literal here for a minute, in the name of solutions, let's assume that our lady neighbor could be hearing some general thumping, right? Maybe the bed is moving around a little bit of floor scraping from the bed, possibly, if things are going well. I did hear that there are felt pads that have been applied. Maybe some squeaky springs, potentially, and possibly and probably some yelling, like you mentioned in that upper register. So how can we figure out some solutions for our buddy based on the types of noise that we might be getting out of Will's apartment?
Okay, well, there he would have two types of noise. He'd have the lower frequency with the scraping and the vibrating. So the felt pads, that can work. But if the bed is still moving and the pads are still going back and forth, then it's not really working that well. So instead of felt underneath the legs, he should just add a big area rug underneath the bed, so it's all uniform, one section. And on top of that, so the area rug doesn't slide around, because that will probably happen, especially in the front of the bed. I would add a rubber felt padding underneath. You can find them on Amazon pretty easily. It's basically for hall runners, so the hall runner doesn't run away, basically. Adding that under the bed and the area rug would be better than felt pads or little things underneath the legs that will just make the bed slide around.
Tip number 1, rug pad and rug. All right, what's next?
So that would eliminate the lower frequency noise. Now the screaming, since you live in an apartment, you can't really make any alterations. So the noise is transferring from his room to the other side of the wall, I assume.
Yep.
Not really from the window.
Oh, wait, so why are we assuming it's not coming out the window?
Well, I'm just assuming.
What if it is? Let's start with the window. Let's assume it could be the window, because maybe it's a single pane, cheap 1960s, whatever window. So let's start with the window too.
Window. If it is a single pane window, then yes, there is a lot of noise coming in and out. What you can add in an apartment, of course, you can't change the windows. What you can add, however, is a window insert. I've tried those and they actually work really well. They are usually custom made and they are on the more expensive side, between $500 and $1,000.
Woof.
I know, but at least if you have a standard window, it won't be as much and you can bring it with you wherever you go, because you can just install it and take it off, because it's some type of weather strip around the panel, and the panel's clear. So it just looks like the window, nothing's changed. You can still open the window, but you have to take the panel off. And with a single pane window in my test, it worked very well. But if you would have, let's say, a double pane window or triple, it doesn't work that well, because the noise is more likely not coming from the glass. So that's one thing he can do.
All right. Okay. So I love that it's clear, because in my head, I'm trying to picture Will, the girlfriend is coming over. Like, is he putting up some sort of room darkening thing and then has to tell her why it's a cave and light some candles or something? So clear window thing, $1,000 hurts a little. Definitely more.
That is if his window is really large, though.
Okay.
He can add curtains, but the curtains won't really do too much unless he sews Velcro on one side of the curtain and have the other strip of Velcro stuck on the window frame. Because even the curtains is more of a sound deadening and not as much of a sound blocking. And all the noise is just going to go through the sides, the bottom, and the top. But if he can stick it around and really block the window with thick, heavy curtains, then it will drown out some of his noise and it will absorb some of his noise as well. So that
that's
can
like
work a little bit.
A possibility. But
Yes.
you mentioned sound deadening. So one of the things I learned when I first joined your channel was that there are so many different words to describe different types of sound stoppage, whether you're making the noise or somebody else is making the noise. So can you explain sound deadening versus soundproofing and kind of give us a run through of this entire category? And then we can come back to some tips because I know you have a couple more in there.
Yes, definitely. So basically, sound deadening and soundproofing is two different things. So a lot of people that would give, let's say, bad advice would tell him to add some acoustic foam on the wall. And that is a sound deadening material. So basically what that does, if your room has a lot of echo and you want to deaden that echo, you want to add some plush material in the room to deaden your sound. It doesn't block the sound. So if you're the one making a lot of noise and you can deaden the sound and basically essentially lower the frequency, making it less annoying, that might be enough to treat the room so it's not so annoying to the neighbors. But if you're really trying to soundproof a noise from outside the room coming in, sound deadening material like foam or panels, it doesn't work really well in soundproofing. So soundproofing is the act of blocking noise by adding mass. You want to stop the sound waves from going through instead of absorbing them in a sound deadening material. And there's also acoustic treatment. People will say, I want to acoustically treat my room. If you're building a home theater or a podcast room, the way that you would treat the room is you would do it in a way to make the room optimized for what you're doing in the room. So you want to sound deaden the room in a way that it sounds perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So lots of different things there. So if you're trying to make the perfect recording, like podcast, the foam and all of these things are helpful because then you're only hearing what we want you to be hearing. If you are making the noise and you're worried about it transferring to other people, we are sound deadening. Is that right?
We are soundproofing in that.
Soundproofing. Will, what is what we're trying to accomplish in his room?
In his room, well, we want to soundproof. But since he lives in an apartment, he's more limited. However, there's still some stuff he can do because noise will travel easily where there's any cracks. So if there's any electrical outlets or light switches on that wall adjoining, let's just assume that it's not the window, it's assuming that they have a shared wall and they have electrical outlets and light switches on the wall. We can also assume that they're back to back with the other room. Electrical outlet boxes, those electrical boxes inside the wall, they're full of holes for the wires to go in and out. So basically, the noise will freely go through your electrical outlet, through their electrical outlet. People would never think how much noise will go through. I actually did a test a few videos ago, and it decreased by 2 decibels. Because you can't go behind the wall and add something to seal those holes, but you can buy something that is a pad that goes behind the faceplate of the electrical outlet or the light switch that will help block that noise. And also on electrical outlets, you can add those child-proofs, things that they can't put their finger in it to get electrocuted.
Yeah, the little plastic one that's kind of like a little...
Yeah.
Wait, that little thing works?
Well, I mean, it's not going to work miracles.
Yeah.
But it does add something to soundproofing. So he can start there. That's not going to make a huge difference for what, but it is a start. So if that can decrease a couple of decibels, what he can do next, since again, he can't add anything on the wall, can't add drywall because that would be the optimum thing to do. Just add another layer of drywall,
right.
Add that in mass to stop that noise. But for him, what he can get is those very heavy curtains that they would use on movie sets. Those ceiling to floor curtains. You can buy them online quite easily. They're thick, they're heavy, and what he can do is attach it to the ceiling, right to the floor, don't leave any gaps. You can even Velcro it to the ceiling. If it makes a little bit of damage when you leave, you just put a little bit of mud, you paint over it, nobody's going to know. So now you have that separation. That will deaden a little bit of their noise, and it will block a little bit of their noise. So then on top of that, he could add a white noise machine. Those are just a little machine that just adds a static type noise. He could add that in between the curtain and the wall, not make it too loud, but at least the neighbor might hear a white noise instead of him and her.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this has gotten wild. This sex room is going to be very well decorated. So we have a very soft wall treatment that's going on that's deadening. I'm still stumped that the little, like 5 inches by 4 inches or 3 or whatever, that the switch and the outlet could possibly be the problem. I guess I've lived in a crappy apartment and thought I heard something from that vicinity, but I just can't fathom that, like, that tiny little, that one little hole in the wall, if there's maybe 2 outlets on a wall or 2 little holes in the wall, it can make such a big difference.
Oh, definitely. Just think of if you've ever been into an airport hotel, and those sliding glass doors are very soundproof. You can barely hear the airplanes on the tarmac, but if you open it just a crack, all that noise comes in. So they say if you have a crack somewheres that's bleeding noise in, it can eliminate about 50% of your soundproofing. About 50% of the noise comes back in the room. Now, an electrical outlet, it won't be as bad. But if that thing brings in between 10 and 15% of the noise in, that's a place to start. And it's not a place to forget, because that 15% could eliminate the big money that you put in for adding stuff. And
for the giant.
So you'd be surprised when you open a wall and there's no insulation, nothing in it. If you just cut the drywall, you'll have that empty cavity, and then you have those outlets. The best way to soundproof it is to add some type of putty over that outlet, and that will block it.
I know for a fact that a lot of the stuff that you can do to a house, you have to do to something that you own or can work on, right? Like that you can remodel. I know I just worked on my house, and the things that you can do with insulation and double drywall, and like we designed closets in between our bedroom and the bathroom so that like as much noise as possible doesn't transfer. But as a renter, you're closer. First of all, you're closer to your neighbors. And second of all, you don't get to open up the walls, and it doesn't make sense financially to do it. So I do come back to feeling for Will and this situation, just kind of thinking through some of the ways that he can be helped. I want to come back to this white noise machine too. I always hear white noise, white noise, white noise. Is there like another color of noise? Is this a thing?
Yeah, white noise was always the popular one. Basically, white noise is just a constant noise. It doesn't fluctuate. That's usually a white noise, and it's usually an annoying noise to listen to. So right now, the more popular noises are brown noise, which is a more...
Wait, that's real?
Yeah, brown noise is a lower frequency. So noise has a color spectrum also. So if you look at the color spectrum, if you go more towards black, but you stop at brown, it has a more soothing noise. That would be more comparable to when you're sitting in an airplane, that deep humming that most people puts to sleep. Some people have noise canceling headphones so they don't hear it, but a lot of people buy white noise or brown noise machine just to simulate that airplane noise.
Huh.
And there's also green noise, which is gaining in popularity, which is natural noises like a river, a stream, something that does fluctuate, and it's more natural.
That's what I listen to whenever I'm writing. I try to put on either like rainforest or, thunder or something. Okay, so that's green noise. I was joking. I apologize. I did not realize there are actual colors of noise, and I stand corrected. What color noise is yelling too much in bed?
That would be a white noise. That would be like a yellow noise. Flashes of yellow. I wouldn't recommend it.
No, clearly it's not working for our neighbor. Oh my goodness.
Poor guy. But I mean, they could also, buy one of those, if they want to invest a little bit, have those beds with those tall pillars on each corners and put the curtain around.
Oh.
So now you're like in an alcove. It's very romantic. And
get
there
like
you
a
go.
4-post bed and have like a
Yes.
drape on it.
Yes.
Okay, this is sexy. This is now we're giving him ideas.
Put some LED lights in there. I mean, they're
LED lights are so ugly. Come on. We got
they
to
are
do
tacky. I know, but
Come on. We got to do
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We can do better than that.
Yeah, we can. Like maybe like a like little battery operated twinkle lights or something. Something
Twinkle lights. But those would be
warmer.
LED, right?
No, we need a warmer frequency for this, buddy. Come on. You're the one who
Right.
said frequency was
Yeah,
important.
yellow lights. Not
Much
noise,
more
though.
flattering.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that struck me was how many life phases have a noise that might bother someone else, like baby, parties, puppy. Like some of these things are so specific to this part of life that you're going through. And all of them are like a little bit different problem, right?
Right, that's true. And if you live in an apartment, a lot of people will go and buy those white noise machines, because if that noise is coming from the other side of the wall and you just have that white noise or brown noise to drown that out, that is a good start. If it works, then it's a cheap alternative. But a lot of people, they deal with noise issues all the time. Traffic noise is a big one also, which is hard. But if you live in a house, you have a lot more options. Where you're a house where you're owning it, you have more options, but it gets expensive.
As a renter, what are the best tools for stopping noise? We've already covered Will, he's making noise. But if you're in an apartment and noise is coming your way from somebody else, what are your best tools?
If it's coming from somewhere else, a white noise machine is something that you can think of, but you're not really doing much other than masking the noise. So if a situation where, let's say, someone is working night shift and they need to sleep all day, and they do have a lot of noise coming through the window, because most of the time the noise is going to come through the window or the door. So let's say it's coming through the window, adding thick curtains is not going to be enough to probably satisfy them. So what you can do is actually build a window plug. You can plug the window completely and block that window off. And then when morning comes or whenever you're done, you can take it out. That's for a bedroom. I did actually do a video not long ago where I built a window plug, and it works quite well. And it's something you can do DIY and quite cheap. It's not something that I've ever seen that you can buy.
I saw that one actually.
Oh, did you?
I think that's pretty smart, because if someone has a night shift, this is a repeat occurrence. This is not an annoying little thing. If you have to sleep during the day, dealing with light and sound could be worth investing a second in creating a personal little solution that works for your window, or that the sound deadening blanket that could possibly go over your door if you needed to, if you're finding these areas. For that person, hey, that sleep is invaluable. So that $50 or whatever you spend to make that, and some DIY blood, sweat, and tears could be really worth it.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, if the sound is coming from the door, you can't really build a door plug like that, but you can buy some door. It's kind of like a door blanket that you can attach in front of the door, and that will make a little bit of a difference. They are a little bit more expensive because they do have soundproofing material in them, like thick rubber and some type of insulation, and they are thick and heavy. I did try one of those also. It's a door panel that velcros around the frame of the door, and I was actually surprised. It's really not a sound absorber, because it's made of some type of plastic on the outside. So there are ways to block noise coming through a door, even if you live in an apartment. And especially if you have a gap underneath the door and you don't have to concern yourself with airflow, you can just add a door sweep and cover that gap.
Yeah.
That's the first thing really you should do if you want to soundproof a door in an apartment or a home. Just add a door sweep.
I'm going to have to put together a little list that goes with this. If you don't mind, maybe we could make it together just a great list of things that renters can be looking at. They're all just going to come to your channel. I know it, because honestly, it's kind of a deeper dive when you're trying to solve sound problems, because I feel like a lot of them are a little bit specific, like Will's sound problem. But the thing that makes me laugh about this episode is when we started out with Laura, she assumes that the neighbor is the problem, right? And all of her solutions centered around how do we deal with the annoying neighbor, because for whatever reason in our shared spaces, the other person is the problem. It's so human and so real. I want to know, Martin, has anybody ever told you to shut up?
Oh my God, yeah, many times. I can, definitely annoy somebody just like the next person. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would have liked to soundproof me, especially in my younger days.
Do you feel like you're hyper conscious of noise? I'm always curious. This is such a really nuanced thing you do. Do you feel like, if your kids are out and you guys are being super loud, do you ever tell them to be quiet because you're more aware of sound than somebody else might be?
I think, in a way, I'm just more concerned for not annoying others, especially with my kids. I'm like, okay, let's just chill out. Let's not annoy everybody. But that's about it. I'm not that much concerned about noise because I'm lucky enough that I live somewhere where it doesn't really annoy me. It's mostly trying to solve other people's problems. So it's been good.
And by the way, may I say, this is your first podcast you've ever done?
Yeah, it's my first one.
You are so good. I mean, after so many videos on your channel, I'm not surprised. I knew you'd be amazing. But I just want to say thank you for tackling a sticky problem with us. I'm so proud of you for your first podcast being a spicy one. You did great, buddy.
That's awesome. Thank you. I loved every minute of it.
Laura Hayden says, steal the neighbor's hearing aids and send whiskey. Martin King of Quiet says, start with a rug and go from there. I want to say thank you for solving some of the world's spiciest problems with us. As far as I'm concerned, I love that Will is thinking about his lady and trying not to make her feel self-conscious. I feel like you can never go wrong sending a bottle of booze to a neighbor. And I hope we get more fun episodes just like this so we can call you again, because this was so much fun. Thank you so much, Martin. Such a good time. Thank you.
Hopefully you do get more questions about this. I'd be willing to come back anytime.
Yes. And to anyone who is listening, I want to thank you for coming along for this ride. I'm pretty sure we could all use some good sound advice at this point or in another time in our lives. If this made you happy or gave you some good ideas, will you consider sharing our show with a friend? You never know when your life might become a true home confession, so don't miss an episode.